Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Behind the Curtain. My name is Carly and I'm going to be the moderator for today. If you're watching with us live, welcome. And we would love to see you participate by putting any questions and comments you have into our live chat down below. And if you're watching with us after hours, again, welcome. And we would love to hear any feedback that you have. You can either put a comment on our YouTube channel or you can actually email us at info@majestictheater.com. And lastly, if programming like this is something that you value, then we would love to see you go over to majestictheater.com and giving us a donation. And today we actually have more than one guest. We have all four of our Wonderettes here tonight. So I'd love to introduce, we have Molly, Kate, Caitlin, Tina, and then, of course, Danny. Our fifth Wonderette. All right, have fun, you guys.
Thanks, Carly. Hey, everybody. Hi, lady.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks, folks, watching for tuning in again to another episode of Behind the Curtain at the Majestic. As always, these episodes get archived, and so you can go to our website and you'll find a way to check them out if you miss it tonight or you want to recommend it to somebody. I might say that sadly, I guess our children's theater productions, we've exhausted all of our children's theater productions, so we're not running any more of them, except there are a whole bunch of them on our website, and you can get to see any or all of those again by going to the website. And a reminder, next week, very happy to have my friend Floyd Patterson. He will be my guest on next week's episode. And what else? I might as well plug this. On August 25th, we'll be doing a Zoom reading of my newest play called The Lady Slipper with some really great Majestic actors, and so you might want to check in on that. And look, we've already got somebody on the comments. It's from Bonnie Rubin. It says, hi, Danny and everyone else. I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe. Hi, Bonnie. Somebody predicted that she'd be calling in, right?
That was me. I knew
it. So anyway, welcome everybody. Great to see all of you. So let's start with the questions, right? Molly, since you're up there in the left-hand corner, we'll start with you. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, very, very close to the good old Majestic.
How about that? Kate?
I grew up in Wilbraham, so not too far from the Majestic either, and not too far from Molly. I had a brief stint in the Midwest. I went to college in Missouri, did summer stock in Iowa, but I can't take the Massachusetts out of me, I guess, so I'm back.
And Caitlin?
I grew up in Hatton, Missouri, really small town, but actually it's only about 30 minutes away from Columbia, which is where Kate went to college. So
yep, we may have crossed paths multiple times and never knew.
And never knew it, right?
Yeah. But yeah, now I'm in Somers, Connecticut.
So Caitlin, I have a question for you. So you actually pronounce it Missouri and not Missouri. Why is that?
Well, I'm trying to be on my best behavior right now and tone down, my accent.
And Tina, how about you?
I'm from Holliston, Massachusetts, which is outside of Boston.
Ah, good. So next question, I guess we'll reverse the order for this question, right? Tina.
Yeah.
Beginning with you. How did you discover your passion for the theater? How and when and where?
Wow. Okay. So I actually didn't really discover it until probably high school. I started training as a dancer at a young age, and I just sang in a choir. And it wasn't until I got to high school that I went to a performing arts school where I kind of was able to combine everything. And then I went to college, got my degree in dance, and I really focused on dancing until, till I retired, basically. And once I retired, that's when I started focusing on trying to get into theater and musical theater and just kind of trying to putting it all together. And I guess we kind of found each other and it kind of stuck, and I've been blessed to have the opportunities that I've had, and I just kind of keep going with it.
Okay, good. Caitlin, how about you?
I've always really been interested in performing arts, from costuming all the way to singing. I never really thought about performing until I was in college, and I went and I saw a production of Les Mis, and I fell in love with Eponine and the musical. And after that, I started studying musical theater, taking dance classes because, you got to dance, and singing lessons. And it's kind of just, I have hopes one day that I will be in a professional production of Les Mis. So, but that's really all.
I know there was I did see a video clip of you doing opera, singing something operatic.
Yes, I used to sing some opera. So that's what I studied, the classical side, before I found Les Mis and musical theater. So I don't sing opera anymore.
We have some more comments here. Let's see. Oh, Todd says, looks great. Thanks to everyone for their participation. And Bonnie Rubin says, ladies, you all look beautiful. And Kate, I love your pink ears.
Thank you.
And let's see, Chris Harwich, I almost asked you all if you wanted to dress in your Wonderettes tonight. Oh, great. Chris Thompson from Harwich Street. Okay. Great to see you.
I wish. I miss those costumes. I really do.
You miss those dresses?
If you wear it enough, it becomes very comfortable after a while.
That's true.
All right, Kate, how about you?
Yeah. So I guess I started with ballet classes when I was 3, and I guess my first not dancing thing was my ballet teacher, who was like 97 years old at the time, and she had been a choreographer for the Rockettes many decades before. She was like, everyone needs to hear Kate sing. And so I was 3 years old, and I sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in front of everyone in my dance class and all the parents. And then I did nothing. And then I started community theater when I was like 8, I think, 7 or 8. And I was scared to audition. It was like a parody musical about our town, about Wilbraham, Mass. And I was scared to audition, and my mom dragged me. I said, you know what, Mom, if I'm going to audition, you're going to audition. So I made my mom audition, and that started many years of my mother and I doing theater together, mostly at my insistence. So that's how it started.
That's nice. I mean, I knew your mom was involved a good bit. Yeah.
Yeah, she did theater back like in college and stuff, but she had stopped doing it altogether until I got scared. And then she ran the Wilbraham Summer Youth Theater for a while, and, directed me in many a production, much to her embarrassment, I'm sure, because I'm obnoxious. But yeah, she kind of kept me into theater, and then I went to college for it. So,
Molly, how about you?
I kind of grew up, like, we didn't watch cartoons in my house. We just kind of watched musicals, and so I loved it. And I started taking voice lessons when I was 10 just because I really liked singing. And then they were doing I think they were doing Cinderella. They were doing a production of Cinderella, and I was like, I know. At the JCC in Springfield, for anyone who wants to know, I was like, I will be Gus the Mouse, and I was, and it was a starring turn. And then, I just kind of loved it, and I saw my first Broadway show when I was 10, and I was like, oh, this is a job that I can do. And I just stuck with it ever since, and I got my BFA in musical theater, and then I moved to New York, and I'm just doing the darn thing.
Yeah, so, the Marvelous Wonderettes obviously was a really popular musical, and it seems like for the most part, all 4 of you have really focused more on musical theater rather than, contemporary drama or comedy or stuff. Oh, look at that picture.
I still miss those dresses. I'm not gonna lie.
Those dresses.
The hair.
My hair.
Yeah. What are you all doing to kind of trying to stay creative during this COVID era?
Is it me? Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, okay. It's a little rough, but as many appointments as I can get for like auditions with my agent, been like filming a lot of those, and I've been kind of trying to revamp all of my audition material and looking at new stuff and just trying to keep in shape for when we all come back real strong.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Kate, how about you?
She's making me look bad because I've done nothing. I essentially have been running the Majestic website.
Yeah,
So,
you've been doing a lot of website work for us.
That's
Yeah.
important.
So I've been behind the scenes with all of this and helping, get the shows up and getting emails out and all that stuff. So I've definitely taken off my actor hat for the time being. And I am working on graphics, and otherwise I'm just kind of home and doing some art and stuff, but I'm not performing at all, which is a shame, but I'll get back to it.
We'll all get back to it, we hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Hopefully.
Caitlin, how about you?
I have been doing a lot of crochet. I have made about 3 blankets, so that's really cool. And I have been doing a lot of cross stitch. And then other than that, I've just, been trying to, stay sane, find something to do with myself. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much all.
Tina?
I haven't done anything. I bought a sewing machine and started making a lot of masks. I work at a hospital, so I've been working a lot.
Yeah, you're one of our frontline people in the battle.
Have been, yeah.
Yeah. So, Tina, when did your relationship begin with the Majestic? What have you done with us?
So actually the prior season to Wonderettes, I auditioned and I was going to be in Guys and Dolls, but unfortunately it didn't work out with my work schedule at the time. So I got to do it the following year. I was in Wonderettes, and I got to do an original work with a local writer. It's called Tight Pants. It wasn't a main stage production, but I got to be the lead in that, and it ran for a weekend, and that was, I think, my first thing on the Majestic stage, which was kind of cool.
It was Tight Pants, yeah.
That was a great play. It was a really, really good play, yeah.
Cast members to work with, so that was a blessing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I guess that was a little bit of a challenge, really, for all of us in a sense. I mean, it was written by my friend Battelle Arnold, who's from the Dominican Republic, and so it was set in the Dominican Republic, and it was a story about an autobiographical story, really, about her mom and how her mom and her sister came to the States. So it was a kind of really fascinating first play for Battelle,
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, Caitlin, how about you? What was your first gig at the Majestic?
It was $1 Million Quartet.
MDQ, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, because I'm guessing we're not counting like my first audition. That was, big no. That Danny wrote a little note. Thank you, postcard, but no.
You got a postcard?
Yeah. Yes, I did. So yeah, $1 Million Quartet was the first one. So it was wonderful.
Elvis's girlfriend, right?
Yeah. So.
Kate?
So I go way back. So my first show was back in 2008, so 12 years ago. I was in the ensemble of the Full Monty, and that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. Just it was a lot of fun, and it was one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite shows, just in general. And it's me. And then I was in, I think, John and Paul the following year, and that's around when I started also working in the box office. So I started wearing two hats, and I worked box office and acted for a long time. And now I am also the website person, and I am also the graphic designer. So I do all the mailings and stuff. So you can't, unfortunately, get rid of me. I'm I'm here now.
You're entrenched.
It's pretty deep.
You're safely entrenched.
I am part of the family, and I cannot be removed.
Molly?
Marvelous Wonderettes was my first go around at the Majestic, so it was a very, very fun experience.
Had you seen the show before, Molly?
Marvelous Wonderettes?
Yeah.
No, I hadn't.
No. All right, I have a favor. I have to get this out of the way. So I have a favor to ask all of you, right? So how does it go? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, can we do it in? We can't do it in sync. There's no way that we can do it.
Why not? Well, somebody counted off.
1, 2, 3, 4,
5, 6, 7.
I could do it. 1,
Listen.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, listen. So let me explain. There. So really early on in the run, I really want to say this is after like the first performance. Like we were all really feeling great. We'd done a good show, and Danny pulls us aside, and he's like, a raging bull. He's like, "Girls, what was this?" And he kind of gestures and does this clap, and and so apparently we had been clapping incorrectly or not on time, and it was the one sticking point for the whole show. Apparently we were fantastic, except none of us could clap on time. and it was just in the background, and it's us just doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, clap. Tina, was it during your song or was it during Caitlin's song?
It was Tina's.
I think it was Tina's song, and that's why that's why you're like, what are you talking about? Because I think you were just singing.
I think I was singing that one. So
yeah,
you were.
So you just got away with singing and looking gorgeous, and in our minds, we're all in panic mode behind you, going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, clap, like as aggressively as we could.
But also what Danny doesn't talk about is that he also would stand in the back of the theater. He would come back and watch that one moment of the show. And I was on the highest platform and I could see him through the window. And I was just like, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and I'm doing it myself.
Yeah.
That was the only part that you ever watched. As the run went on, we saw your face in the window at that moment.
Yeah, it was my contribution to the choreography, right? Yeah.
Goodness.
So here's a more technical question. I don't know how challenging it is, but how did you create your character in the Wonderettes? Miss Molly, we'll start with you.
I don't know. I feel like every character is different. I think for this one, oh, there she is. I think I worked more outside in, which I usually work inside out, which is just a very actory thing. But it was a lot of like in the rehearsal room, being able to just try a lot of things and see what stuck. And as an actor, the more I'm off book and I know my lines already, I can kind of play more and figure it out. And when we were actually in our rehearsal process, our costume designer, Dawn, was there all the time. And she was the only one that wasn't sick of my antics. So she would laugh and I would kind of figure out if stuff was actually going to land with the audience or not, because I had to be like the funny one. So that was very helpful. But it was definitely just like trial and error. And then the more I feel like we all created relationships with each other, the more it like kind of defined how we acted on, or at least I acted on stage the entire time, because we never left the stage.
No, that's true. Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Yeah. How about you, Kate?
So my mom will hate me for saying this probably, but I did base a lot of Missy on my mother, who's a very type A, get it done kind of personality. And I didn't realize it until maybe a couple weeks into, actually, no, it was after rehearsals, because my wife came and saw the show and she was like, yeah, I that's your mom up there. You're playing your mother. And I was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are. And so ever since she said that, I kept trying to layer more of that in. In a good way. There's definitely a lot of my mom. And then I think, though only in the back of my mind, there was also a little bit of Mary Catherine Gallagher from SNL.
Oh, yeah,
if you remember that character from like the late 90s. Yeah, there was a little bit of Mary Catherine in there as well. Only just in the back of my head to kind of keep me going there. But yeah, Missy's just very uptight and very controlling, and that's where it came from, I guess.
Yeah. All right, Caitlin.
So for this show, I felt like it was really cool because each character is a pretty typical stereotype that in your high school. So chances are you knew a Susie, you knew a Missy, you knew a BJ, and you knew a Cindy Lou. I definitely did. And I based a lot of the foundation of my character on my Cindy Lou that I knew when I was in high school. And so from that it kind of just grew from there. Definitely what Molly was saying, when we started with the blocking, the dancing brought out so much of my character. So it was just that's where it all came from, my Cindy Lou.
Yeah. Tina.
So I got to play more like a jokester, goofed around, made a lot of inappropriate noises and inappropriate things. So I had a lot of fun with that. I had it goes back to like, I don't know, like Caitlin, I had a friend in school that was kind of like the super jokester of it all. So I kind of was able to kind of dial that in some. And then I think just with the process of once you're getting the dancing in and once you're getting the blocking in, just trying to find little nuances like here and there. This kind of came together.
Yeah. This should probably explain to people watching what the story of the play is, The Marvelous Wonderettes. Who wants to jump on that?
Shall I go?
Yes.
Since this was my job when we were on the news back. Oh gosh. Okay, so The Marvelous Wonderettes is the story of 4 high school girls who are in their little show choir at school. They compete, and they are the backup act at their prom. So the boys act got canceled, and the girls come in at the last minute so that they can perform at prom instead. And so the whole first act is us performing at our high school prom, and you are the audience at the high school prom and some of the staff, and there is some interaction, but you are part of the show as we go. And then act 2, it takes place 10 years later at our 10-year reunion, where we are performing at our 10-year reunion. So we give you a lovely concert, and you again are all part of the show. And you learn about our hopes and dreams and who we are as people, and everyone has a good time.
And what's happened in over the past 10 years. And
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, I'm ready. Jade Turner says everybody looks great. I wonder who that could be.
Thanks.
Molly.
Thanks, Jade.
And Bonnie back again says, Kate opening the show. Well, we don't want to give that away quite yet, but we will.
We'll get there.
We'll get to that. So did any of you have kind of a pre-show routine that you'd go through?
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah, you did.
She definitely did.
Well, I live across the street from the theater, so what I could do is I could get ready at home and then walk over, but I hated that, so I always showed up as early as possible, and I always had like all of my makeup, all of my stuff, all like on my table, which I took up way too much space, I'm sure, but it was all very meticulous and organized for me. But I would sit for a very long time putting my makeup on, curling my hair, recurling my hair, especially on a double show day. It wasn't that I had any specific ritual necessarily. I was just very particular about the way that I put my makeup on and how, and getting into the whole mindset. I'm very particular, I suppose. That's all.
Well, not only that, I mean, there was a reason why you kind of had to get into your costume and makeup kind of before everyone else, right?
Yes.
Because
I had 5 minutes less time than everybody else to get ready, because when everybody else had 5 minutes to go, I had to go on stage, and then I had to go into the audience, and then I had to go ask people in the front row if they wanted to be part of the show. And so I had to find 2 new people every single night to volunteer to be part of the show. And that was my special job.
Yeah, and one of them actually got brought up on stage. And so here's another message from Bonnie. It says, I think she's saying her Mr. Lee is watching as well.
Yep, James, if Bonnie's watching, then James is watching. Hi, James. And James was my very first Mr. Lee, who ends up being the character that we pull up on stage multiple times during the show, who marries me on stage. You're welcome. And so he was absolutely wonderful to be my the first one, because he was lovely, and he was responsive, and he got up and danced when he was supposed to. He wasn't afraid to interact with me, and I really appreciated that. So thank you, James. You were the best first Mr. Lee. There were like 45 more, but
but you hold a special place in all of our hearts.
Do any of you recall any sort of interesting audience feedback after the show, or any kind of funny commentary overheard during the show?
I just had. Oh, go.
I said I don't remember verbatim, but I know that they loved Susie when we would go out into the audience for the prom queen vote. They loved Susie, and they hated Cindy Lou. So that's all I really remember about the audience comment.
Well, it was supposed to work that way, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like they wrote it that way.
It might have wrote it that way, yeah.
No, I mean, I had great audience interactions when I got to go down into the audience. Got a lot of wooing and cheering, and everyone was really, really fun. I mean, everyone was having a good time. It was also always a really fun. I don't even remember what it was, but I just remember it was Tina and I. We would go to like stage right for something. She was upset about something that Caitlin did, and I'd always find this one guy and be like, "You want to come up here and date her?" And like, the whole little side of this audience was just like, they were hysterical because I'd be like, "No, really, get up here." And I don't know, but people loved it and I loved doing it. So it was
Yeah, it was a pretty interactive show for sure.
oh yeah.
Certain parts of the audience, sometimes I think that stage right, house left area got a totally different show than the rest because of that little prom voting interaction that we got with Susie hyping up the crowd. I think there were a lot of moments that everyone else didn't get because they were lucky enough to sit on the side there.
How about bloopers? Any stage bloopers?
Can I say my favorite one?
Yeah.
And then
It might be your favorite one too. We wore those go-go boots, which you could never predict, like if they were going to slip, slide, whatever. And one time, Kate took this most graceful fall, just sliding down the steps. I'm so sorry, Kate, but you made it look really graceful. I still giggle about it. Like I'm sitting there watching TV and all of a sudden I start laughing. I relive the moment in my head. It's my favorite.
God.
Yeah.
Yes, so I fell in the beginning of Act 2. I slipped okay, I didn't slip. What happened was the heels of the go-go boot are shaped like triangles like this. So the bottom is wider than the top and the bottom is wider than your heel. So I misjudged how far my foot had to move forward and the edge of my heel caught on the step and I took a tumble and I slid right down the stairs. I heard this collective gasp from the audience of terror, I hope. And then I popped right back up as if nothing happened. And I was like, oh gosh. And then I went back and got Molly, I think. And all the time we're having a side conversation because other stuff's going on. You're like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, I'm fine. Let me help you put your shoe on.
Oh my gosh. No, I mean, there are tons. People don't realize like what's really like, sometimes you're like, we're all in the same room, but because we obviously know the show so well, you're like, oh, but there was one night where I was sweating real bad and one of my eyelashes was coming off and I was like, oh, I'll just pull that off. And then I had to run and get something and I was like, I'll just pull the other one off and like ran into the wall, but like nobody commented on that. And then there was like, oh God, how about when well, it was during a rehearsal, so this might be not fair game, but like Caitlin ran off the front of the stage.
That's totally fair game. It's totally fair game.
Ran.
I ran off the stage, but in my defense, I had sunglasses on and it was really dark. And Danny was yelling at me to run, and I did right off that stage.
That's commitment. It was beautiful.
I was fine.
You just bolted and just as if there was no end to the stage, you just kept going.
Told me to run.
Yeah, that one definitely was rough.
There were multiple falls during because there's so much running around. But I don't remember which ones were in rehearsal and which ones were during a show. Because there were definitely a lot of slips. I slipped multiple times. Didn't fall except for that one time, like completely fall. But I definitely slid around.
How about when my dress, I had lost weight doing the show, and so they had tightened my dress, and the snaps kept coming off. You know, every night in the opening for like a week, the snap would break, and I'd go, Kate, on stage, and I'd like stand in front of her, and she'd have to snap my dress back together because like there was no time to get off stage. Ever.
And we were mid-scene. No one leaves the stage during the show.
Yeah.
So if something went wrong during the show, we would just have to fix it while we were there. So Molly's dress would be coming apart and I would just be like, okay, snap it back on. No problem. No worries. We're fine. Corsages were falling off.
Oh, yeah.
Those went everywhere.
Microphone at once.
Microphones broke multiple times.
Oh yeah, the microphone. Basically, we were a classy mess.
Yeah. Both the real microphones and the fake microphones.
Yes.
Because,
Right.
Pro tip: the microphones that we held on stage were fake. We all had
real, but they
were
live.
they were real microphones, but not for us. So those cords kept falling apart, which was fine because they weren't live, but at the same time, we were moving the mics around, so we had to have them plugged in. So we had multiple times where we'd try and fix the mic and couldn't do it until someone came over. I feel like usually it was Tina who was able to do it. She could do it, and we were all horrible at it.
It's okay.
I do remember one time, I don't remember whose mic it was. Was it Caitlin's? That the actual mic that we were using, the pack mic, went out, and somehow we managed to get that person off stage to fix the mic.
Oh yeah, I think that was me.
Yeah.
Fall down your dress completely.
I don't know. I don't think it was on. But we fought, right? And I went into the bathroom. Someone pushed me off stage. That's because I had no idea what was going on. So,
oh yeah, you didn't know that your mic was off, and we had to be like, bye, and shove you without you knowing what was wrong.
It was great for my character.
Hey, let's see. We got some more comments here. So Jade says, "Who was your favorite Mr. Lee?"
Oh,
Ooh, there's so many.
Oh, there's so many. I think James, my first Mr. Lee, was one of my favorites. But I think my favorite maybe was probably Paige's dad.
Oh yeah.
So our choreographer Paige, who is excellent and wonderful and amazing, she brought her family early on in the run, and we had decided that, the one to pick on would be her dad. And so he was just the kind of guy who rolled with it and played along really, really well. Did his own little inside jokes, but not enough that it would be
frustrating.
Annoying. Yeah, frustrating or distract from what I was trying to do or throw us off. But he always kept me on my toes too, so that was always nice. I always loved when someone seemed like they were in on the joke and aware that it was going to be okay. And it was always hard when there was someone who seemed really afraid, because I felt really bad.
Yeah.
I always felt horrible bringing up somebody who seemed like they really did not want to be on stage. But I think by the end, everyone, they had a good time at the end of it. So I hope.
Yeah, there weren't. I don't recall too many guys who were kind of really sort of apprehensive or reluctant. Maybe a couple, but. And then there are a couple of guys who kind of wanted to stay up on the stage.
Yes.
Couldn't get them off, right? Had a little challenge there.
And just give them a little shove. Be like, this is our show. Sorry. Gotta go. Gotta leave.
Time to go sit down again. Let's see. Anne-Marie. Oh, this is nice. Anne-Marie. Oh, look at that. I voted for Betty Jean. My mom is from the class of 58, and she loved it. I was really glad she was able to come. Anne-Marie, folks, was in the pit band for the show.
So amazing.
Pretty amazing violinist.
And a mean tambourine. Do not forget the tambourine.
That's right.
And here's another from Bonnie Rubin. Says, first night you ladies seemed so nervous, but by the last show you were so comfortable.
Oh, because we were so nervous.
I mean, we put that show together which is standard, but we did 2 weeks in the rehearsal room and then a week of tech roughly. But it's only a 4-person show, and everybody's in everything.
And so there's 27 songs, and every song is also a dance number in 4-part harmony.
Yeah. That was a lot. It was just a quick learning process. And I mean, I thought everyone did a great job. It was just like you're just trying to continue to remember everything fully and like also try to live in your character, and just it was really that I feel like everyone was in everything, like truly. I think I was the only one that was off stage for the beginning of one song, and that was it.
I walked off stage right after Teacher's Pet. I sometime during the Mr. Lee sequence, I walk off stage, but y'all drag me back. It's maybe 20 seconds that I'm off stage when you go get Mr. Lee. So it's just like a lot of material, but it was great material. And also it was songs that everyone knew. So you wanted to do them justice too, like with the style that they're in, and then the musical theater style with it. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, what I think the audience's members don't really realize, well, they don't have the perspective, you know. And I think it's such an enjoyable show, and it seems to be such a really simple, enjoyable show, but it's so complicated because right, you know, you've got this music and 26 songs you have to learn, and it's not just learning a song, it's learning it in 4-part harmony on top of that, and then throw in some choreography, you know, and then, you know, throw in some other kind of stage work, and, you know, it's a really challenging show.
I said probably, it is definitely the hardest show that I have ever done, which shouldn't have surprised me, no, given the volume of material, but I really didn't think it was going to be so difficult. And I mean that in the best way, because I think every actor really wants to have the chance to do something where they are, you know, carrying the show constantly on stage all the time, always contributing, always reacting. And it's just a marathon. So to learn it is super hard. And then also to sustain it for multiple, you know, night after night, up to six shows a week, even, to sustain that energy is just, it's hard. It's hard, but it's so much fun.
For 7 weeks, right?
Yeah. And like Mitch too, our fabulous music director, he was like really like, he loved the music. So we worked really hard on just being able to make sure like 4-part harmony and all that good stuff was true to the music and true to the musical, because they were different things.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the brilliant things about Mitch is too, I mean, it's like the 4-part the harmony was maybe not as written in the score, but he was able to arrange it to your voice.
Right.
Yes.
You know?
Well, sometimes what he did was because he is so well versed in the original music and he is so passionate about the music of that era, that there would be sometimes that he would really go, okay, you know what? I know it's written with this chord, but the original version of the song uses this chord, and it's a little simpler, so it's only in 3 parts, but that's the sound of that era. And so he was very much about keeping the integrity of the Wonderettes score itself, but also like keeping the integrity of the original music that people recognize.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like, when we did Respect, he was like, why isn't this in the original key? It's Aretha Franklin. Like, everyone knows this song. So we like moved that back into the original key. So things that I thought were really great musical decisions, to be fair.
Terrifying sometimes, but also really smart. Yeah.
Yes.
Mitch is greater than people who are not.
Really.
Hi, John. That's my friend, John. Also one of our Mr. Lees. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, he was also one of our Mr. Lees.
And he says, Mitch, people who are not Mitch.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Very true.
So we always, you know, whenever we've done a talk back before, you know, we always get this question from the audience. How do you learn all your lines? So, seriously, and it's funny. So, for all of these episodes of Behind the Curtain, everybody that's been on, I've asked them that, and interestingly enough, there are lots of different processes that people have for learning their lines. So, Tina, we'll start with you. How do you learn your lines?
So I start with, I write everything down 3 times, every single line. And then I literally make a recording of all of my lines. I do a couple different recordings. I do a recording with everybody's lines by scene, by page, however I want to break it down. And then I do another recording of everybody else's lines, excluding my character's lines. So as I'm driving in the car and stuff, I can always listen to it. If I just need to hear everybody's lines, I have it. If I really want to focus on where does my line come in, I can listen to everyone else's so I can know my cues. Because that's how, I don't know, I just seem to memorize really quickly that way. It's like if you listen to a song on the radio, you hear it enough times, whether you're trying to memorize it or not, you just have those words in your head. So
yeah, it ends up there.
That's me. So that's how I do it.
Yeah. Caitlin?
Well, this show, the lines were the least of my worries. I had so much other things that I had to focus on, and my 1 or 2 lines in between all the songs and dancing, I got to them. I learned them, but I was more concerned with, recording Mitch. I have hours of our rehearsals just recorded, and I would listen to those constantly. I'd be at work, at my desk typing and listening to me sing really bad harmony because it was wrong. I recorded wrong harmony all the time, so that was also another hurdle. But yeah, so normally though it's just repetition. I read the script over and over again and then do my character work, and then it just kind of comes. So.
And you actually, I'm trying to think, right before the Wonderettes, what was your show before that? That was Amadeus, right?
Amadeus was after $1 Million Quartet.
Right.
That was my first straight play, so that was terrifying, but very, very such a good experience. But definitely taught me. It's easier for me to learn my lines when it's accompanied by a song, or I know I'm going to go into this dance, but yeah, it was different. I feel like every show is different when you learn your lines, though. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
So.
Kate?
Caitlin, every show is totally different, and I found Wonderettes to be unbelievably hard when it came to learning lines. And I think it was because the scene, there's not a lot of dialogue in the show. It's mostly music, and the interludes of dialogue are mostly very short. And very often they are kind of repetitive, and they lead one song into another. So if you skip one or you forget the order of little scenes that go between songs, you can derail the entire show. And I had the great joy as Missy of usually leading those sections because she was kind of the one announcing the prom voting and the candidates for prom queen and all of the songs that were coming up and everything. So I felt the burden of responsibility for sure of having to keep the show moving and keep the show in the correct order, which was very scary early on in rehearsals because I thought, all of these lines sound exactly the same at the start. And so if I don't get the right one, the whole show will be completely derailed. We will skip 40 minutes. Wasn't
there a night where something, there was a jump, and we had to jump back?
Maybe.
I thought there was like a do-over night.
I don't remember. The only thing that I remember from the dialogue is another trip that I had where I slipped on a stair while I was while I was coming down the stairs to announce all of the candidates for prom. I had the little basket and I was about to announce, ooh, here we are. Here are the people for prom. And I slipped on the stair and stumbled. I didn't fall on my butt like in Act 2, but I did slip. So yeah. And I think I just learned it through repetition, like fear and repetition. I think Tina's method of recording everything and listening to it and being meticulous, you would think that would be my jam, but no, I just like hope that it happens at some point. And eventually it does. I kind of just keep my script down the back of my pants in rehearsals and pull it out whenever I can, as condensed as possible and as tiny a format as possible. But otherwise I'm just flying blind and hoping for the best.
How about you, Molly?
So I work best. I'm sorry. I'm very lucky. I have a very good memory. So I kind of read things once and pretty much remember it. So I would read the script and then in full and kind of gauge like the arc of the whole thing. And then when we get our, rehearsal breakdowns of what we're going to do day to day, then I would pull those scenes or whatever and kind of go through them and try to memorize them a little bit better before. And then like Kate, like I would start kind of like having them near me in case I needed them. But through the repetition of just like that one day going through those scenes, then I knew everything because I kind of associate a lot with movement. So if I know what my movement is, I know what my line is. So I'd already I knew them mostly, and then that solidified it for me. So I didn't ever feel like I really had to spend a lot of time like sitting down with it. But I also like do remember I was commuting a lot back and forth from New York, and I would spend a lot of time sitting on the trains just like making sure I knew the lines. Like Kate said, there is like a much smaller amount of lines, and they're similar. So you're like, what does Susie say this time? That's funny and whatever.
Yeah. Well, here's another kind of important question for everybody. So we kind of winding down everything here. Molly, we'll start with you. What kind of advice would you give to, aspiring theater folk, people who think they might want to be a part of this crazy life that we lead, crazy, wonderful life that we lead when we're able to perform and there's not a damn pandemic going on?
I think my and this is so general, right? Because there's so much that I could say. I think my biggest thing, and I've said this, I spent a lot of time kind of going back to my college where I got my BFA, and I've talked to a lot of like prospective students there and just, friends in the city and all that kind of stuff. And I think my biggest thing is find your people, find your home. I remember I went to the University of Tampa, which is a absolutely incredible BFA program, but it's not, one of the top 10 or whatever people are looking for. And, but I felt at home. I felt like that was a place where I could learn the best and be challenged the way I needed to be challenged, to grow the most that I could, and, not feel like I had to compare myself all the time, which is something we all struggle with in everything, but especially in theater. So, just being at a school where I felt home, and then you find, people in the city and casting directors and other actors. And a lot of times people like actors, I will hear say they're like my artistic home. And that's how I feel about the Majestic. It's how I feel about, American Stage in St. Pete, Florida. Like I have places that are artistic homes where there's people I want to work with, because at the end of the day, like talent is great, but people want to work with good people and kind people. And I think that's something that people overlook a lot. Yes, the training is important and doing your best and being talented, but being a good person who wants to be kind to other people I think that's something a lot of people forget about.
Yeah. Yeah. I know in a sense that when I'm writing a play, or even if I'm reading a play, somebody submitted a play to me. I mean, I'm always asking myself, do I care about these people?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would I want to know them? Yeah, it's important.
It's really important.
Especially, I think, in a place like the Majestic, in the just that physical environment that is the Majestic. I mean, you and the audience are sort of part and parcel of one another. And it doesn't matter if you're doing a show like The Marvelous Wonderettes, or if you're doing a show like Amadeus or $1 Million Quartet, or Tight Pants. It's just that sort of physical environment and that connection there, that between the stage and the audience, which kind of, there's like a line there, but it's not really it might be an invisible line,
Right.
but it's not a really definitive line.
No.
So, Kate, how about you? Advice?
Yeah. So I really want to kind of piggyback on what Molly said, because I completely agree. My college experience too was that I went to a very small school. I went to Stevens College in Columbia, Missouri, and it was a really, really small school. At the time, I think there were like 500 students, and there were only 18 people in my graduating class for theater. And so, I always kind of thought, well, what if I had gone to New York City and gone to NYU or gone to the really big school and, did it that way, or gone to Juilliard or Carnegie Mellon or something like that. But at Stevens, because it was such a small program and we did so much work, I really feel like I got this hands-on experience that was difficult to get elsewhere. And so I guess when it comes to training anyway, and trying to, to work on your craft and being an actor, I think my advice is definitely to kind of focus on the work first, and focus on, it doesn't have to be the most important place or the biggest name place. You don't necessarily have to, network your way into what you think is going to be the most prestigious college or theater or whatever. You go where the work feels authentic to you, and where, you have opportunity to not be anonymous, I think, and you have opportunity to make yourself known and make the right connections, again, like what Molly said, with the right people, and people that make you feel, loved and not anonymous. Again, you want to be able to find a family, because I think that this business can be a little bit aggressive at times, and it can really tear you down sometimes. I think, if the self-doubt doesn't, and the crippling anxiety doesn't in your own head, then, there's always going to be someone who doesn't really care about you, who tells you that you're too big, you're too small, you're too tall, you're too short. Doesn't matter if you're good at singing or bad at singing or good at acting. Like, a lot of other factors that are not personal will factor into it. And I think that can be hard mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And so they do, I think a lot of people are like, you got to build a thick skin about that. But I think it's more important to really find the love in theater, and find the people that will love and accept your talent.
It's an ever-growing family with every show that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And especially at the Majestic too, because it is such a small place, and it is such a family type of place where we do use a lot of the same actors over and over again. We kind of build relationships. We know each other. And so it feels at the Majestic anyway, it feels safe here. It feels like I'm coming home to a place where I know that I am respected and valued, and I know that the work is intense. And I know that when it does or it gets to be difficult, there are going to be people there for me. So, because everyone's great. That's all. Bye.
Well, my view as a producer and sometimes a director and sometimes even the writer is I always want the work to be challenging. Because in part because the reward of meeting a challenge is so uplifting, and you take that with you for the rest of your life. You take that with you to the next show, but not only that, you take that with you for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
How's that for some philosophy? Caitlin, all right, you can follow that up now.
Well, I think it's really important to really fully understand and love yourself if you're going to go into this business, and really understand like who you are as a person and really your strengths and weaknesses, and to be really honest to yourself about what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And it makes your performance, I feel like, a little bit more authentic when you're okay with being rejected, because, hey, guess what? It wasn't for me. But outside of that, I would say don't be afraid to get involved with all aspects of theater, technical theater, because those aspects make you a better performer. Like, if you understand how a costume plot is written, or how dressers operate and lay out their track. Don't be afraid to volunteer and be a stagehand or run a spotlight, because it will make you better in the long run. So, yeah.
So I guess my advice would be is if you have the drive and you have the passion and the desire for it, then you'll always find a place in the world to do it. And Caitlin's point of you kind of find a home in all of that. It might not be what you initially intended or wanted, but sometimes you just kind of fall and land where the wind blows you, and it's a good thing. And it is a lot of work. It is. You can have good days, you can have bad days, you can have days where you're going to get casted as a lead, and then you can go around and then you won't get casted in anything, and that's just kind of how it is. But I think if you have the drive for it, you're going to find a place to do it.
Yeah. It is true. I run over the years. I've run into a lot of people who are enchanted with the idea of being involved in the theater somehow, right? But that quickly wears off for most of them when they just find out how much damn work it is,
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. We got another comment here from Don Byram. It says, my wife and I love the show so much and the actors in it that we bought tickets to see it again and brought friends to see it with us.
Oh,
nice.
Yay.
Thank you, Don.
Thanks, Dawn.
That's great.
That's awesome. I know of a lot of people who did do that, who came multiple times, brought friends, because it was kind of a different show every night. We always had different stuff going on, so always worth multiple views. So thanks.
Yeah, it was one of those shows though you could enjoy time and again for sure.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're out of questions, but could we close this out with?
Oh, I knew you were going to say that.
All right, Kate, you take it.
All right. So also 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we'll go. Okay, ready?
Okay.
So 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's a delay. Danny, you can't blame us.
I didn't do it.
Tina's off the hook. It doesn't. She's fine. We'll never get it right. when we revive this show, or we do Winter Wonderettes, or any of the sequels, Danny,
Hey,
we'll learn it then.
you know, we should we should also mention that, you know, the plan, the current plan is to reopen the theater January 9th.
Yeah.
And you know, we're going to pick up exactly where we left off in the middle of March. But that also means I think all four of you are somehow or another going to be involved in a show called
9 to 5.
We were a week away from starting rehearsal for that show, and we hadn't shut down.
I had my script. I was learning my lines.
It was highlighted. Everything was highlighted. I was ready.
Oh, good. I hope you're still ready.
Oh, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'll start getting ready.
All right, let's see.
We'll come.
Some more comments from Bonnie. Let's see. From Cliff Chauffeur, too. Hi, Cliff. So great to see you all. Can't wait to work with you again.
Same, though.
It's saying we did first show during intermission. We bought for the closing night.
Yep, Bonnie and James were there multiple times. Always in the front row. Always
in the front row. Yeah, and then here's from Bonnie. Lollipop, lollipop. and Anne Marie is she's sending messages to Cliff. So Cliff, Anne Marie says hello.
Also, hi, Anne Marie again.
Yeah.
We love our band so much.
We love our band so much.
They're so much better than we are.
We needed them.
They're so good. We love them.
This has been delightful. I love you all so much.
I love you.
Oh, we love you, Danny.
Thank you for being my guests at Behind the Curtain at the Majestic, and 9 to 5.
We'll see you from 9
We're
to
ready.
5.
We're ready. Here we go.
All right. Thanks again, everybody. Ciao.
Bye.